All right, this is one of those videos where it's just something I want to talk about. And I want to talk about it as a YouTuber who has one of those on his wall where it's 100,000 subscribers on the main channel. And thank you to YouTube for the support along the way. And of course, there was a time where having 100,000 subscribers, you were a big deal. Now, not as much. YouTube has grown and it's grown and it's grown over the last decade plus. And there are some consequences to that. So what we're seeing over the last few days is that, I believe it's Jaden Smith, right? Will Smith's son, coming out and not being too happy with Shane Dawson and for inappropriate acting towards an image of his sister when his sister was 11. I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was cringy, the Shane Dawson clip. I'm not showing it here. No. But he's being called out now for something that happened a long time ago. Jenna Marbles comes out and tearfully says, well, I'm going to go ahead and privatize all my videos. She's privatized all of her old videos that she feels no longer speak to who she is. And she's been called out for certain depictions she's done on her channel, the blackface and things of that nature. And so she's kind of stepping away and she'll be back. They always come back. But she's being called out, and now Tobuscus is up here, not because he's done anything now, but because we saw this happen with Tobuscus. So I wanted to make sure that Toby was on there. Toby had a channel that was thriving, one of the biggest channels, and Toby Games was one of the biggest channels on YouTube. I enjoyed watching him play Happy Wheels. Sometimes was the highlight of my day. Used to watch it with my daughter all the time, and we got a kick out of watching that. And I remember thinking, watching Toby, I thought, I could do something like this. I could do something like this. And I was always sort of taken aback that he didn't swear. And then people said, no, he did in the beginning. But then he stopped because he realized, he was going to get a lot more kids to watch if he was kid-friendly, which, as a YouTuber, I would do that as well. There was swearing in early videos, and then one day I went, you know what, we're just going to cut this right out. That way all my videos are fine and dandy to be watched by families. And it worked. I saw revenues go up. I saw view counts go up as soon as I went family friendly, which is part of the reason why you do that. And this is where people say, oh, that's selling out. Yeah, I've always found that weird. I don't think that there's anywhere in a normal job where you could say, oh, look, Billy got a job that pays him $40 an hour instead of 10. What a sellout. More often than not, we go, screw him, he got the better job. That's really what, but we don't call him a sellout for it. But in entertainment, whether it's YouTube, whether it's music or movies, it's what a sellout. Yeah, I'm sure that bands that sell out, hello Metallica, I'm sure that bands that sell out and make way more money after selling out, I'm sure it really upsets them. And they probably can't sleep very well at night because it's hard to sleep on money. So, I don't know that from experience. If you think it's easy to sleep on money, please let me know in the comment section below. But Tobuscus went through a scandal after where he had an ex-girlfriend come out and say that he was inappropriate in their relationship. And once all this came out, his career went right off the deep end. And he didn't come out and answer it well until a couple of years later. And he is still paying the price for that. So what's happened with Toby now is he's trying to come back and get back into the relevancy. It's not quite clicking like it did. So he'll put up videos where he's doing gameplay, but it doesn't quite feel right because it kind of feels like he's too old for that now. One thing that I decided when I started up, the channel was never try to be something you're not, and never try to portray being interested in something that you're not, and just be you and go with it. It's the advice I always give people is find a niche, find what you want to talk about, and then go with it. And don't base what you're doing on your channel based on anybody else and what they did. So coming back to Dawson and Marbles and how the whole storyline has changed over the last decade plus, as much as Pixel may not like it. I told you earlier to be nice to the kiddies. If you're not going to be nice to Bear and Shadow, you're not going to be here. Do you understand? Do you understand? Okay. I think silence means compliance. So where YouTube starts to change really for me is around a decade ago almost when Vevo came in. So this was, in the beginning when it was a wild, wild west of YouTube as it's been called, You had people just uploading videos, people uploading whatever they wanted. It didn't matter if it was copyrighted music, copyrighted videos. You could upload whatever you wanted. And I remember downloading MP3s off of YouTube. They were good, high-quality MP3s, and throwing them on my MP3 player. And boy, howdy, the pirates and the Wild West of the YouTube. It was something back in those days. And then Vivo came along. And we started getting mad because some of our favorite YouTube channels were getting all their videos copyright strike, for lack of a better way of putting it. They'd get copyright claims and have to pull everything down. And or they'd lose any and all rights to monetize anything once monetization came in, because AdSense became a big thing. And that's where really things start to change. So where Dawson Marbles and others come in initially, it's kind of the Wild West of YouTube. You could make a good living on YouTube, yes, but it wasn't really considered to be a place to go to consume media. And I mean, the videos were there, but it was different. It was a very, very different environment back then. So I can understand people being upset with things they find in old videos. I can understand people being upset when YouTubers aren't exactly, you know, necessarily the best people and all of that. However, I do believe in second chances for people and second chances in life in general. Part of, you know, becoming a YouTuber was that my life was at the absolute bottom. And, you know, 5-6 years ago, it was as bad as it could ever be. And thankfully, here I am all these years later, and it's a completely different person standing before this camera now than you would have seen 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it would have been a lot more self-loathing. So, you know, YouTube does provide some great exposure for people, but it's changed. So the content you could produce when these were your bigger producers, the comedy that I never really got into anyways, for lack of a better way of putting it, was kind of the Jackass level comedy. The offensive, hey, this'll tick everybody off kind of comedy I really never got into. Although, I will admit, I really enjoyed the movie Borat. I did. As sophomoric as it gets in parts, I really enjoyed the movie Borat. I thought it was funny. But, again, you know, there was definitely some comedy at that time that you couldn't get away with now. And part of it is just the fact that the platform's completely changed. And I'm not sure how to approach that. So AdSense made a difference then, because once we get into the actual advertisers and you get the big advertisers coming out of the platform, what their advertising goes on, they want say in that. And so this is where the whole, well, it's censorship. Not really. Because for Google, for YouTube, it was a matter of, this was a platform that lost a lot of money. So as popular as all these people were, the platform was losing a lot of money. It's a lot of bandwidth that you have for uploading videos, for watching videos, and it's large servers. It's a lot of money going out and not a lot of money coming in. So these advertisers come in and they start providing money to a platform that needs it. So for Google to have, you know, large advertisers, let's say Walmart comes out and says, hey, you've got this guy over here saying this, we're not going to advertise on that. Okie dokie. And then other advertisers come up. We're not advertising on that. All right, so this one account here, we've got about half of our advertisers refusing to advertise on that. So that user will see a drop in their advertising revenues. That user will then, in many cases, get mad about it and start to say, I'm being censored against. But it's the companies. It's usually the advertisers themselves. And eventually this platform has gotten big enough that Google's kind of had to say, okay, we're just going to have to demonetize certain content, demonetize certain videos. And this is where, of course, we get into adpocalypses and all of this stuff. And it really comes into the idea of they're trying to make a profit on a platform that didn't used to. Now, where things get even more muddied now is Twitter. Twitter seems to be ahead of all this. So once you're done raging about something on Monday, you've got this brand new thing on Tuesday, and then while you're still holding on to this thing from Monday and Tuesday, a new thing comes out on Wednesday, and you're kind of reaching out with your foot like, okay, so we're mad about this now. Okay, now, if I try to bring up both feet, I'm going to land on my backside. And so there's so many things that we're mad about that we just pile them on top of each other and on top of each other. And I think what's going on is between Twitter, Facebook, to a lesser extent, Instagram as well. Things usually get said on Instagram that then get shouted on Twitter and Facebook. that are meant to bring everybody else down. But we get into this cycle. I get asked a lot about my political bent and everything. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to give my political bent here, but I'm going to say I think where the problem is, and I definitely see this on the U.S. side, is that conservative voters in the U.S. seem to have a monolithic approach. We all support this. We all don't support this. On the liberal side, it's you must be perfect. That, and I'm not saying that's the way it is with all. I'm saying that that appears to be the way that it is, which is we have, here's a for instance, if Jimmy Bob is your Republican nominee, and on the Democratic side, you've got Bobby Jim. Jimmy Bob, he's great. All the Republicans say, you know what? He's got some flaws, but we support him. On the liberal side, it's, well, what did Bobby Jim do when he was 10? Did you hear what he did when he was 15? I don't know if I can vote for him. I don't know if I like him. I don't know. Maybe not. You know, as much as he may be our nominee, but I wanted the other guy. I really wanted the other guy. On the conservative side, they seem to be unified. Hey, what did I tell you? He has the right to exist. Knock it off. That cat today, she has been an absolute problem. You need, if you want to be part of this relationship and this family, you need to knock it off. She's trying to cancel Shadow. I'm just throwing that out there. But like I said, this is where things are different, and this is what I see. And this is where the problem is that on the one side, whether it's right or wrong, you've got a whole monolith that says we support this, and on the other side, you've got a million different little messages, and okay, now we need to get rid of this, and we need to get rid of that. So when voting day rolls around, the monolith says we're all going out and voting for this. Meanwhile, the fractured left-hand side of the aisle, you've got a bunch of people going, well, we'd love to go out and vote, but man, that Bobby Jim guy, I can't stand him. And I'm not voting for Jimmy Bob either. I don't like him, so forget it. I'm just not going to go. The monolith wins. Now, the reason I mention this in the midst of this is because a lot of the people who get mad over all of this are going to be people who may very well have left leanings. So they'll call this out, and then people with right leanings go, well, I never liked these people anyways. So sure, yeah, by all means, let's call this out. Sure, this behavior is wrong. But if you call out somebody who's on the monolith side, they'll go, nah, I don't think so. And because they're all united, you're not going to bring any of them down. Joe Rogan was a good example. Now, Joe Rogan, we can argue about which side of the fence he's on, but he has a monolith following him. His followers aren't going anywhere. He is above any of this. He is. You can bring up anything that happens on his show, and whether I like or dislike a show, and there are certain things I would see on a show that I go, you know what, I agree. And then there's other things I'd see on a show and go, dear Lord, people listen to this. But his followers stay behind him. Now, the other part that gets this even further muddied is the mainstream exposure side of it. So 10 years ago, Shane Dawson, Jenna Marbles, H3H3, Keemstar, all these other ones that we know now that are big, they could say whatever they wanted 10 years ago, and nobody in mainstream media knew who they were. Nobody had a clue. Lily Singh, you know, I've talked about how I don't think she's funny, and I don't. But I will say this. YouTuber, got herself a TV show. Congratulations to her. But because YouTubers are starting to get more mainstream attention, because YouTubers now are a bigger deal, and they have bigger subscriber numbers than ever, and because of the fact that YouTube is seen as a viable media outlet, that means that what anybody did 10 years ago, what anybody has put online 10 years ago, all of a sudden you're going to go back and go, hey, is that blackface? He's doing what? Oh, he's joking around. It's not in good taste. So the stuff that got done 10 years ago, and to me, there should be some kind of a limitation. So here's how I see it. That if somebody did something 5-10 years ago that they wouldn't do now, then talk about how they wouldn't do it now. You can talk about how something somebody did or said 5-10 years ago is horrible. Yes. And then say they wouldn't say it now. They wouldn't do it now. Because All of us have done that. That's kind of part of getting older. That's kind of part of growing wiser as you get older. We all hope we grow wiser as we get older. Anyways, I certainly hope I have. I like to think I have. I like to think I've made better choices over the last, especially the last 4 years, than I did in the rest of my life leading up to it. And you know, I have had times in my life where I've been impossible, and I've lost friends. I've lost contact with people. I have sabotaged many a relationship, both friendly relationship, romantic relationship, you name it, I've sabotaged it. And now we're seeing people who've had their life online, who've had a part of themselves on the internet for over a decade, having things they did a decade ago come back to bite them in the backside. And you know, the tricky part is this. So Shane Dawson comes out. I don't know if he has or hasn't. I'm assuming he has come out with some form of an apology. People are going to say, you're apologizing now because you got caught. If he had an apology 2 years ago about something he did 8 years ago, they'd be like, yeah, but that video was still out there. That video still existed. It again, you know, I talked about James Charles not long ago. I've talked about other YouTubers over this time that I've had this channel, because whatever they do affects me. We'll come back to AdSense. So advertisers see stuff, and I'm, you know what? I'm just going to take Tobuscus off of there, because Tobuscus, at this point in the video, I don't need to talk about. Where did I put? There's the eraser. So Tobuscus had been canceled previously. I thought about putting Keemstar up there, but Keemstar isn't going to get canceled because Keem's got his following. Keem, much like Joe Rogan, whether we like or dislike Keem, and many of us dislike Keem, he has a very monolithic following that don't care what he says or what he does, because they tend to lean in a certain direction. And I basically, for me, I understand that if an advertiser now looks at this and goes, hey, those are the big channels, right? They did what? Maybe we need to reevaluate how much money we're putting into YouTube right now. Because clearly some of the bigger names we need to reevaluate our relationship with. It could very well be a situation where maybe they have merchandise deals. The merchandisers come out and say, yeah, you know what? I know that video was from 10 years ago, but boy, howdy. And I understand that's not who you are anymore, but yeah, we're done. Yeah, we're going to walk away. It is a slippery slope. And again, it feels like on the one side you got the monolith that follows everywhere, and on the other side people just can't stop. They can't help themselves. Gotta cut absolutely everything down. And I think what bothers me, and I'll close with this, is in situations where people do something stupid or they say something stupid, and there is absolutely nothing they can say or do which will cause people to back off. And I honestly think it is a very, very vocal minority. I don't think it's a majority. I don't think this is a large portion of the population that's running around finding things. I think it's a very, very limited number of people doing a very large amount of damage. And I think it's, okay, now who's next? Okay, all right, so we got Dawson. All right, Marbles has come out and she's taking her stuff down. Who's up next? Meanwhile, Danielle Cohen, who's 14 years of age, she posts all kinds of inappropriate underage crap all over the place, and nothing's happened to her. Nothing. She's still completely monetized. She's been dating 18-year-olds since she was 13. Nothing. Everything's fine. That's all fine. What we need to do is find stuff from 10 years ago, while stuff that's absolutely happening right now, and I'm absolutely stunned and floored that it's still taking place, is happening right now. Because as far as I was concerned, the Danielle Cohen thing was settled a year ago, where we're like, okay, so we've seen her birth certificate, and her dad's come out and said she's 13. So clearly, oh, what? Oh, okay, so no. It's bewildering. It's bewildering. Because to me, some of this stuff's in bad taste, and some of it's illegal. But, hey, who am I to say, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.